Hi everyone, Jessica here and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're going to be creating 3 slimline cards using these 3 stamp sets, and then I've got 3 colours of Distress Oxide I'm going to be blending into the bag. The panel size I'm going to be using is 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. Basically I'm going to be creating the same card just using 3 different stamp sets and 3 different colours. So it just goes to show that it doesn't matter what products you've got, you can recreate any card. So I did get out my first stamp set. This is the Stampin' Up Forever Fern, but I actually decided to ink all of my backgrounds up to begin with, and then I go into stamping. So the first colour I'm going to use is this crushed olive, and I'm just working my way from the left hand side with it being a little bit heavier of a colour, and then just working up and blending into that white. So super basic ink blending for just really sort of basic cards. So my idea behind this particular video was just to show everybody that, like I said, it doesn't matter if you've got products that, people are showing you, but, if you like a design, you are always able to recreate it with the products that you have. So all I'm creating here is just a really simple slimline card. I'm using 1 ink colour per card, so you don't need a huge variety or be able to blend or anything like that. And I'm just simply using 1 stamp set. So this stamp set is a Stampin' Up set. It is a little bit more expensive. However, the other 2 sets I use are actually free gifts that came with the Simply Cards and Papercraft magazine that I subscribed to, one of which I had never even got out of the packaging. So it was a really good opportunity to kind of get that product out and have a go at it. So you can see I've finished blending that. I've gone sort of roughly to the centre of this panel and I've blended that nicely into the white. So for my next panel, I'm going to be using this fossilised amber, and again doing the exact same process, that same simple blending. And then for our third card, I'm going to be using this spun sugar. So I really love all 3 of these colours together. If you were to make a collection of cards, you could keep the exact same design, use the same stamp set, but you could just change the colour behind it. All we're doing is just some really quick and easy card making. What I am going to do to add a little bit more interest to our background is I've taken out these metallic watercolour paints, and all I'm going to do is just use a water brush and an acrylic block, and I'm just going to create some splatters onto these backgrounds. Once we've got all of the splatters done, I'm just going to take a clean paper towel and I'm just going to take off any sort of liquid that's still on the surface, and that will just dry this off nicely. And you can see it's just really kind of a subtle paint splatters of that silver, and it will just catch the light really nicely. So now we can get started on our stamping. So the first card is our crushed olive background, and like I said, I'll be using the Stampin' Up Forever Fern. So the ink pad I'm using is this Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad, because this works really well on top of these Distress Oxides. So what I'm going to be doing is creating a really nice sort of bottom flower border. Because my ink is going to be coming off the page, I've just popped a piece of scrap paper just behind my panel, and that will just then catch any of the ink coming off our stamp. So what I'm going to do is take this first large image, and I want everything to be quite varied. I want it to sort of look as natural as possible. I am going to be popping our sentiment in the top right hand corner, so I don't want to go too high on that side, but I want to make sure that I vary the heights. And like I said, I'm going to be creating a really nice sort of silhouette sort of floral pattern across the bottom of our card. So you can see here I've reused most of the stamps that have come within this set, and you can see now that I'm just sort of filling in some of the gaps. I want this to look as full as possible. And I really love how this looks. This particular stamp set obviously isn't designed to be coloured in or anything like that, and it works really well being black and white. Some of the other images are sort of designed to be coloured in, but I still think it looks just as good. So now we can go ahead and pop our sentiment on. So again, using that Tuxedo Black ink pad, this inks up so nicely and is perfect, I find, for sentiments. So the sentiment is going to be going in the top right hand corner. That's where I left that nice white gap. And you can see our sentiment here is love and laughter forever and ever. And I think this is a really beautiful sentiment to go with this particular stamp set. And that is this card finished. At the end, we're going to be mounting all of our panels onto our Slimline black card base that I've made. But for now, we can move on to our next panel. Now on to our next panel. This is the one where we've used the fossilized amber colour, and the stamps that we're going to be using is by Clearly Besotted, and this is the Snowdrops. So this stamp set with its coordinating dies and embossing folder came free with issue 199 of Simply Cards and Papercraft. And once again, we're going to be following that same design, so our flowers are going to be coming up from the bottom of our panel, and I'm going to be putting the biggest one here down first. So I think this is best because then if you've got smaller images, you're able to kind of fit them in smaller places. You don't have to worry about trying to fit in your biggest images. So I'm just following the same process over and over again using the majority of these flower stamps. So you can see that these ones are kind of more designed to be coloured in, but I still really love sort of just having that coloured background. It saves time having to colour these in, and I just think it works really well. So you can see all I'm doing is just coming up from the bottom again like we did in the previous card, and just trying to fill in as many of those gaps as possible. So what I did decide to do for this particular card is use some of these flower heads, and then I just took one of the longer stamps that had a stem on it and literally just used the very end of it to create its own stem. Once again, we're going to pop a sentiment into the top right hand corner. So the sentiment we're going to be using comes from this stamp set, and it's Get Well Soon, so a perfect Get Well Soon card. Again, you can just change out the images, change the colour and change the sentiment, but you're still following that same design, which I really love because it means you don't always have to keep coming up with new designs. So there you can see we've finished our second card, and then we can move on to our third card. So the third stamp set that we're going to be using is called The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, and this again came free with an issue of Simply Cards and Papercraft, and that was issue 193. So I have used these stamps a few times to make cards, and I really love the variety. You get a lot of sentiments, you can build a lot of your sentiments up, but some of the stamps you can colour in and others are just silhouette dies, so again that perfect sort of good variety in there. But once again, we're following that same design, having some of the flowers come off the edges, and then we're going to be popping our sentiment into that top right hand corner. So, you know, like I've said all the way through, just such a simple card making here. So now we've got all of our flowers down, we can go ahead and pop our sentiment on. So I decided to make this a birthday card, and the sentiment we're going for is Many Happy Returns. Again, probably quite a vintage, kind of an older sentiment, which is perfect with this stamp set. And I just like to say, using this Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad, this has worked perfectly as well. It sort of dried really nicely, none of it has smudged, it really is sort of perfect. The final card size is going to be 8.5 by 3.5 inch, and I have created my own blank card bases just from some black cardstock, and I think that really kind of brings out this design and sort of helps all of that colour and those images pop. So you can see here our finished 3 panels that are unmounted on our card bases, and they all look different, but they're all following that really same simple design, and I think they look great together. So you can see here that I've mounted them onto these card bases, and I think everything just pops really well on this black card, and adding those sort of metallic splatters to the background, I think that helps just kind of add a little bit more interest to the cards. Like I said before, the whole sort of point behind this particular video was just to show you that it doesn't matter what stamp sets you have, whether they are expensive, whether they are freebies, it really doesn't matter. You can take a design or a template and really kind of make it your own and use the products that you already have. You don't always need to have the exact same products as, you know, the cards that you're being shown. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. it's given you just a little bit of inspiration, maybe to dig out some stamp sets perhaps that you've never used before, and just have a go at, you know, following that same design pattern, but using sort of a few different products. If you did like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, then please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting!